Welcome to the fifth episode of the ACPM Spotlight. And the ACPM stands for the Association of Construction and Project Managers. It is a voluntary association of the SACPCMP, so many acronyms. The SACPCMP is the South African Council for Project and Construction Management Professions. And then I would like to welcome my host, Mr. Anthony Afodofe, who is the president of the ACPM and also the CEO of Kgole Group, which is a corporate member of the ACPM. Welcome, Anthony.
Thank you, Nomvula. Thank you so much.
And today we are in conversation, yes, another acronym coming, with the JBCC, which is the Joint Building Contracts Committee. And the ACPM is a constituent body of the JBCC. And as we engage today with our guests, they will give us more insights into what the JBCC does, who the other constituent members are. And today we are in conversation with the CEO, Temi. Welcome to the ACPM Spotlight.
Thank you, Asnubula.
And then we're also with Ntate Paul and Ntate Waka, the acting chairman of the JBCC. Welcome, Ntate Paul.
Thank you, Nomula.
Thank you very much. We will be further engaging, on the JBCC, on the joint programs we are doing. And then I would like to hand over to my host to start off and kick off the conversation.
Thank you so much, Nomvula. Ladies and gents, again, you are welcome. We want to make this a very open conversation so that you tell us the secrets of the JBCC. So I'll start off with the first question to the chairperson, Paul. The question is directed to you. How has the JBCC continued to fulfill its mandate of providing fair and comprehensive framework for managing construction contracts?
Yeah, thank you, Anthony, for the opportunity. The JBCC, as you may be aware, has what we call the drafting committee and the review committee, and the purpose is to, on an ongoing basis, mainly through our constituent members, to basically move with the times. So, we basically are aware to the industry, the profession, the clients, and all the issues, and from time to time, the necessary changes are being, effected, to move with the times, so to speak.
Okay, thank you. I think I myself am part of the review committee.
Yes, you are.
I was appointed, I think, late last year. Yeah. So we have been working on the drafted documents as well. So I fully understand where you're coming from. CEO Tami, what strategic direction is the JBCC focusing on for the next 5 years? What are you aligning the growing demands for in the construction industry? Because there's a lot of changes that are happening in the industry. So how is the JBCC being aligned to those changes as we move forward? I think that's the question for you.
Thanks, Anthony. So we've adopted a strategy of Learn, Build, Elevate. And that stands for upskilling, empowering through our training and webinars, which we host on a monthly basis, building with the construction industry. So understanding what the demands are, addressing those needs, and elevating by innovation. So we want to elevate your experience in the built environment, but also keep up with what technologies and how is the construction industry itself changing. What does the JBCC do to keep up with that? And we're keeping our fingers very close to the pulse on that. And I think it's going to be a really interesting one. I think from our conference, you can see the build-up. So
yes,
that's our strategy for the next 5 years.
Great. So you're currently at 6.2.
Great.
The current version is 6.2. And that, I think, it's taking us to the next phase. There's a lot of changes that have been made to the 6.2. I think we're using it already in the industry. We're just hoping that the market, the clientele, will also be looking at adopting the 6.2 going forward. So that's just a little bit of a note from myself. Nomvula?
Thank you, Temi, for that. My question is to Ndate Paul. You've recently had the breakfast session, of the JBCC. I think it was 31st July, isn't it? The JBCC conference, yes. So can you just share with us what were some of the key items, from the conference, and how do they align, with the strategic direction that Temi just talked about?
Yeah, thank you, Novula. I think what was came out sharply was the need for the JBCC to look at inviting the banks, the financial people, to be part of the constituencies, because that's quite critical to to the work of the JBCC, so that they're aligned. So that was the first thing, and of course, the other one, which was quite sharply raised, was the issue of the principal agent, the role and the responsibility of the principal agent, which, as you may be aware, depending on how well the principal agent fill in the document and administer the contract, then you can either end with lots of dispute, contracts running late, and so forth and so forth. So those were there were other smaller ones, but those
were
for
the
me
key.
were the key ones.
Maybe we can also then continue to delve on that. Based on that, Temi, can you maybe just share with us, in terms of the JBC's future plans, particularly regarding your digital transformation and making JBCC contracts more accessible to all stakeholders, because people usually talk about accessibility, even if we are talking of technological advancement, but that still remains, a reality. Can you just maybe take us through that in terms of future plans?
Sure, I'm actually excited to take you through this one. In line with our Users Breakfast Conference, we launched our online platform.
Beautiful.
So it's the first time for the JBCC that we've done something so exciting. I'm really, really honored that the board entrusted me to head up with their support and full guidance this initiative. But we've launched eJBCC, and we've enhanced, I think, the user friendliness. I come from a QSing background, so I do know that a lot of the time it's not the professionals that are purchasing the documents. It's your administrative officer, or it's someone within your department that does the purchasing. So I needed that to be, the interface to be extremely user friendly, so that anybody out of the construction industry knows how to purchase a document, navigate through our website. And I think it's a continuous improvement. We're developing and ensuring that when we get a query, what is the query? Let's reassess, let's revise, let's go back. And we really, really want our clients to feel valued and understand that we're listening. And I think that's the biggest thing. So it was the first time that we've launched something like this, very, very exciting. And we are implementing stage 2 shortly, where we'll be hosting our own webinars and hopefully more podcasts like this. So we'll invite you the next time.
Exciting. It sounds like my language, eJBCC.
eJBCC.
But it's not the eyes. Sounded like closer eJBCC. Dr. Paul, just to pick up, on your earlier answer that you gave to say one of the critical issues, from the breakfast session that you recently hosted was the issue of the role of the principal agent. Can you just share with us to say what do you see as the most pressing issues that principal agents face today, and how does the JBCC seek to address those challenges? Just picking up, from what you said on earlier, and this being also one of the key issues arising from your breakfast session.
Yeah, thanks, Novula. There were quite a few of those, but for me, also based on my experience, the principal agent needs to be, sort of pay attention to detail when they first of all fill in the documents in terms of the contract data, because if they miss a step, then you see the effect and impact downstream, when we're doing adjudication, arbitration, or even when we're in court, So that's the first thing that, and the JBCC is very clear. For instance, adjudication of extension of time claims, adjudication of other claims, the application of the relevant clauses for certain circumstances, without really mixing the two. So for me, it's very clear. In as much as the contractor has what they call, or what we call, time bar, in terms of doing certain things vis-a-vis the claim, the principal agent is also time barred. They have to do certain things by certain times. But there's a side where I think through the webinars, as Tim is saying, we're going to emphasize that they must also, because they have to administer or manage the contract impartially, so that if the employer is not in line, they have to inform the employer and like they do with the contractors.
Okay. And I hear your response, and I hear it also more from the side of the responsibility of the principal agent. But maybe what would you say are the issues that they face now, just the other side of the coin? Is there any additions, to just what you've said now?
Yeah, like I said, the only way that, when we are in, litigation, there's a need for the JBCC to really reach out and, on an ongoing basis, emphasize, the role, the responsibilities, what can go wrong, what can go well, and so forth and so forth. So I think it's more of an awareness campaign that we have to run. And that users breakfast was an excellent platform where we began to feel and really appreciate some of these issues that as the JBCC we have to go out and basically put the message out there.
Okay. Just to pick up from that, Temi, it seems as if there is a need then for training, and isn't that a policy, to go out, to create that awareness. Is there any, current future plans in terms of, training or facilitating that training, specifically also for your principal agents? I also know that there's upcoming sessions that you are having now, like next week. So what are the plans?
So we do currently host training for the principal agent, but as Dr. Paul mentioned, the feedback from the conference was alarming. It was an eye-opener because it's so easy in the construction party to blame the contractor. But for me, it's looking at, does the principal agent understand before they sign the contract, what are the expectations of that role? Do they understand the risks associated with becoming a principal agent, the obligations that they have to fulfill that role, and who should be then a principal agent? You have to actually ask yourself, am I qualified? Am I fully aware of what the role entails? And then can I commit to it? So I think that's something that we need to really, really drive from the JBCC. And it's not something that's been fully explored. And that's something we're working on currently. Hopefully in conjunction with institutions like ACPM and SACP, just looking at accountability, responsibility, and risks. So it definitely is something. I can't promise you a date, but we've heard the cries and we are answering to them.
Okay. I think what we want to do now, we just want to have a look at the upcoming 39th CIC that you can take us through. Because as you can remember, our President, Anthony Afodofe, did attend the current JBCC conference. And obviously from that, looking at value add, even from our members, he then, strategically then initiated this engagement to say, okay, as a constituent body of the JBCC, the issue of the principal agent being one of the key ones, as Ndate Paul said, let us take it upon ourselves to actually ask for a joint session that we can have with the JBCC on behalf of our members. So I'm just saying that immediately after that attendance, the president ensured that we just implement, some of the recommendations that emanated from that. So with that said, I would like us to just look at the 39th CIC, which we are doing in conjunction with the JBCC, which we will put up now on the screen to give people details. But then, Temi, I just really want us to, I would really just want you to take us through to say, you know, what are the things that we will be looking at? And maybe, Anthony, you are also able to add, you know, why you found this so important and for us to even be implementing immediately, because, you know, the president said, you strike the iron whilst it's hot. So, yes, let us then together and not just wait and say, what will the JBCC do? But, you know, the president was very clear to say, let us engage it now. It is something that was key. Let us engage it even for the sake of our members. So with the 39 CIC coming up, which they are putting up, I would like you to just then take us through to say what will that CIC entail. But before you do that, let us just read the details of the CIC. So the 39th CIC, Construction Industry Conversation, will be taking place on the 24th of October. And then this will take place at Oxford Corner Building, 8th floor, in Rosebank. And then the registration opens at 9. The actual session is from 9:30 up until 1, where there'll be some panel discussion. And the theme of the session is Mastering JBCC Contracts, an in-depth exploration of principal agent responsibilities and beyond. Can you just then take us through the session?
Okay. So I was very excited at the opportunity, firstly, because, like President said, strike while the iron's hot. We were still just coming off the excitement from the conference, and then you reached out to us. So we then discussed with you, shared with you some of the learnings from the conference, some of the concerns raised, and I think if I can take you through it quickly, it's to unpack the role of the principal agent, unpack what goes wrong on a project, and not who's to blame, but where does that accountability lie? Looking at some of the queries that come through to the JBCC, most of the time, I would say 80% almost, it's from the principal agent, not understanding their obligations, struggling with remaining impartial, as Ntatipol stated previously, playing a dual role of architect and principal agent sometimes. So I think it's to unpack those issues, look at the reasons for cost overruns on projects, look at the reason for disputes, dispute resolution, and how do we manage that. But I think more than that, it's not just to raise these issues again, but to actively work out a strategy together, a collaborative strategy on how do we overcome these, what needs to be done. So it's not just a conversation, but hopefully it will be actions resulting from that.
Okay. No, thank you very much, Anthony. I don't know if you've got anything to add from that.
Thank you, Tammy. I think when we sat in the conference, I think I was very quiet in the conference because I wanted to absorb and listen to what the floor was saying. And I think this was very key because ourselves, we perform principal agency role as project managers. So it came quite strong to see that the industry has an issue around the principal agency's role. So when I left the conference, I did speak to Nomvula about it to say, okay, there's a little bit of a gray area that we need to deal with the JBCC. But if we take a step back, right, it all starts from procurement. A client procures a professional team, right? Whether public or private sector, it doesn't really matter, but there is always a process in appointing a principal agent, right? So there's onus to the client, starts from there for the client to understand who they're appointing as a principal agent. Is that entity experienced and is the individual they are ceding to that project experienced for that specific project, and does the individual representing the entity understand the precepts of the JBCC as far as principal agency role is concerned. There is a twist to the issue because the role of a project manager is being confused with the role of a principal agent. So those are two different roles. The principal agent deals with contractual issues. The project manager deals with the day-to-day running of the project. But what is happening is clients are appointing project managers to act in the capacity of principal agents. So they appoint them as project managers and principal agents. But the entity probably does not have that experience in managing the actual contractual aspects of the project. So therein lies a challenge. So whether you look at it from a public sector point of view or from a private sector point of view, the onus starts with the client. And before, as an entity, you sign on the dotted line to take on that role, you must know you are entering into a legal role and a representation of the client and of the contractor. Because as Ntate Paul said, there's a partiality that you need to play between the client and the contractor. So I think these issues need to be unpacked at the CIC that we are going to have. I think it's going to be quite interesting to understand the role the client plays, to understand the role the principal agent plays, to understand the role the contractor plays, so that I think the industry begins to see the movement from where we are into the future as to how procurement is done, to procure the right entity to do the job for you, and the entity to seed the right representative from the entity who understands the contract. We've had so many issues on contractual issues, and you're quite right. It's not always the contractor's fault. It could also be the principal agent's fault who doesn't understand the JBCC contract that they are using. So I think I just wanted to chip in that pointer, Nomvula.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Anthony. I think then you can then continue.
Okay, thanks so much. This is for Tammy. We always have roles. You are the CEO of the JBCC, and it's a big role for me. It's a big challenge that you've taken on. And most of the time, the public does not really understand what that role is. So in terms of some of the major challenges you have faced in being the CEO of the JBCC, can you share that with us, and how you've also tried to navigate through those challenges, if you don't mind?
How much time do you have? No.
Give us the shortened version.
The shortened now.
Some key challenges that you've faced since you've started in the position.
I think no job is without challenge. No role is without challenge. I mean, not just in career. Every role takes a bit of adaptability. Surprisingly, maybe not, one of the biggest challenges I've faced is the human element. I think being in a management role, a leadership role, requires an elevated level of emotional intelligence.
Yes.
And not everyone has that. It's you have to have your own ideas and strategy on how to cope with that. I'm not saying that I have,
all the answers.
All the answers, but I think there's perceptions of what this role in particular, the CEO of the JBCC, has looked like historically.
Yes.
And now I'm here. So it's very different to what the norm is. And there's a resistance to change, as usual. People want to keep doing things the way it used to be because it's a tried and tested way. It works. But I'm saying it can work more efficiently.
Exactly, yeah.
And for me, those are the kind of challenges. I mean, not going into the female challenges because I think most people are aware. But being, so when I was appointed, I was still in my youth. So having a very, very young person lead the JBCC. Fortunately for me, I have the guidance of our board. We have our constituencies, ACPM is one of them, and we have very, very strong-minded people and very, very supportive. And I think that with their guidance, they make it a lot simpler.
Okay.
They also challenge me a lot. They do, but that's what they're there for,
Yeah.
to ensure that, I'm the best leader that is there. So definitely the human element.
Okay.
Okay.
No, thanks for that.
I think just as a follow-up, hearing what you are saying, what advice would you give, to other CEOs, particularly in the construction industry? I'm counting myself now. It's never, it's never a matter of you've been there for years. I've joined the construction industry like in 2009. It's been years, but you never say you know it all, and sometimes there could be things that I'm also still navigating, or maybe navigating thinking is the best way, only to find out, when you ask, they say you must always ask. When you ask, you'll always learn things. So it doesn't mean having been there for a long time of having had the experience, you have answer to everything. I might not have been exposed or experienced anything that you could have experienced thus far. So what advice can you give to us, women CEOs in the construction industry?
Women
in particular?
CEOs.
Yes.
So mine
In the
is-
construction industry.
I always say I must have patience, perseverance, and remember my purpose. Because, there's strength in purpose. When the challenges come fast and furious, which they do, I go back and I think about it and I think, why am I doing this? Remember why you're doing this. There's purpose. And I was put here for a reason. And patience, because not everything happens when you want it, not on your terms. And the perseverance to go through those challenges and overcome them. That's what I've been. That's been my go-to for the past year and a few months. But I think for women in particular, and Dr. Paul said something very, very profound to me last year. He said, as men, we don't know what you need.
Yes.
Tell us, we are simple creatures. Tell us what you need. And I think so often we're so scared of complaining. So complain with purpose. Know what you want from that complaint. What are you aiming for? Don't just complain and say, but I've got a family at home. Okay. So can we structure my day in this way so that I can go home and see to the little one? Because that is my purpose. I'm also there for that. That's my main purpose. That's what drives me. So don't be afraid to complain, but be intentional. Be very, very intentional, especially for women. The industry was not made for us. But we engineers, we designers, we quantity surveyors, we can redesign it. We can re-engineer to accommodate us because we're not going anywhere. So let's adapt.
That was really a very good input. Is the same that Anthony said, because it's a simple thing. So sometimes it's things that can be resolved. It's just that you cringe in your own corner and not ask. So for example, if a person says a meeting started 7:30, so when are you doing other things? When are you taking the child to school and all of that? So for us, it was simple. I remember, Anthony, our exco, we used to have our exco at 6 in Johannesburg, and I'm in Pretoria. So I just used to go and I kept quiet. But I thought, this place is far to come alone. Then I said, Anthony, but there is no way. Then he said, but just say, because the thing is, they will never see it from your perspective. And I'm laughing one day, Anthony was making a joke and say, guys, I should not eat too much. People have taken effort at home, so I must be careful, how far I go. Then I said, guys, but I'm also the wife that needs to be cooking for someone at home. And it was as simple as that. Ex-con meetings were resolved. We have them online. Do you understand? Whatever time we have them online. So it helps a person. So sometimes it's not really the hard things. There are the things that can be resolved. And as Dr. Paul says, if you just indicate, because the men wouldn't be aware of what you need or what you need to be able to do, because obviously they are not playing, that role. You have to create that awareness. And for them to having worked as men for quite a very long time, we are the ones that we need to bring about, this awareness. So I think that's quite a good point.
No, thanks for that, Tammy. I think challenges are there, but equally we need to look at solutions over the challenges. But I appreciate the comments coming from there. JBCC has been around for some time, and you've become quite influential in the marketplace, not only in South Africa, but also the document is being used for projects in the rest of Africa and other parts of the world. So how does JBCC plan to increase its influence within the private sector and also the public sector corridors? How do you plan to stem the contract in those sectors, basically?
For me?
Yes, that's for you.
By listening. I think for a long time we have a very strong suite of contracts. That's no doubt. There's nothing wrong with the tool. But I think by listening more intently to what the demands are, some of the questions that arose at our conference as well, it was just a matter of us listening and taking in what they're saying and adapting and evolving to suit.
Yes.
So where possible, I think we need to evolve. But I think the influence comes by addressing a need. So we need to first listen, find out what that need is, and then answer the need. Because if we're not answering a need, we're going to cease to exist.
Yeah.
You know, so that's, I think that's our strategy.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think I'll raise this point. I think it was also raised at the conference, if I remember well. COVID came in 2020 through a spanner in the works, and both clients and contractors were struggling to deal with that specific issue. That's for Ntate Paul. And at the time, people were rather confused as to whether there was provision in the contract to cover such incidences, especially in the likes of the COVID. And there were issues of cost that should be taken by the client or should be negotiated with the contractor as part, sharing cost and the likes. So I think during that time, the JBCC really did come to the fore to assist the industry in dealing with some of those issues. But I just want Ntate to just give some bit of a detail in terms of going into the future, what we termed force majeure in the contract and the unknowns that happen. The strategies around strengthening the contract to take this forward into the future. What is the JBCC looking at in that specific area?
Yeah, as Tamia said, Anthony, JBCC is not living outside the industry. So it's inside and it's part of the changes that take place from time to time. And you mentioned COVID-19. That was a very interesting scenario because the edition 4.1, which some clients still use, and edition 5, which was largely used before we introduced 6.1, did not have force majeure.
Yes.
So we introduced force majeure 6.1 and basically entrenched it in 6.2. So what we did was to issue a sort of a guideline to say, because the force majeure as it is known was not clearly defined in the JBCC, and we basically said to both the client and the contractor, assisted by the principal agent, must negotiate something which is reasonable. And I was very fortunate to adjudicate a lot of COVID-19 claims. Although it was largely on the other side, on the GCC, which, by the way, did not have a force majeure as well. It was a big problem.
Cheers.
So, and we did best practice. We checked different clients, from the major, Sandrals and so forth, Lesotho, and so forth. And what came out of that was, at the end, it was really a negotiation between the employer and the contractor. So some of them will say, okay, we'll give you extension of time without cost. Some of them say, okay, right, we'll give you extension of time with a specific cost.
Yes.
For instance, remember during alert level 5, when the whole country could not move, and the only movement was for what they called essential services.
Yes.
If you recall.
Yes.
So some clients said, okay, right, maybe let's look at those essential services cost, but not your normal other costs and so forth. So it was a thing. Now, but moving forward, as I say, the drafting committee is looking into a whole range of issues, and then we have this facility, what we call frequently asked questions.
Okay.
So which we share as well from time, because it also gives us a feedback as to what issues we should be looking into, moving forward. So it will be an ongoing issue, because as Tammy say, if you want to do things like we did it those years ago, you'll simply die.
Yeah.
Simply, you have to move with the times.
True.
And I'm glad that the team which is there, they're much more IT as well. The use of the IT to purchase document, to respond. To I still have to myself be trained as well on some of the IT things. Okay. It will be very interesting because our receptionist, to a large extent is she'll be training me, on some of those things, which is quite exciting.
Just nice.
Just another
you.
follow-up, Anthony, I'm thinking also from the breakfast session. And Dr. Paul, can you just tell us how does the JBCC ensure that construction guarantees are properly managed in state-led projects? Because I've seen that was also one of the deliberations.
Novola, that's a very interesting thing. So we just picked it up. But like I say, in fact, most of the board members, as you know, they're quite involved in the industry and so forth. And it comes back to this thing where we say, in terms of the parties, the parties have rights and obligations, And, we're saying that if each party will exercise their right in terms of the contract, the difficulties that we see will be minimized. We are not saying they're going to go away.
Yes.
So the issue of the guarantees is very interesting. That's why I think once we can pull in the finance guys,
Yes.
will come and help us with that. Because in instances where the guarantors had to come to the party, they'll always find something not to honor, But also on the other side, where, for instance, either the client or the principal agent or both, they don't manage this things correctly. Once you issue extension of time, you must look throughout, including that the guarantees are also extended.
Exactly.
So you issue extension of time, you revise the date of practical completion, but you forget to extend
the guarantee itself.
So something happens like, July last year, now it becomes a problem, So it's coming back to paying attention to detail of such things, because if you look one activity in the program, and as you specialize in that, and also on the contract, that's what we do. There's no isolated standalone activity or clause in the JBCC. So once you look at one clause, or you look at so you have to look throughout everything to make sure that everything then that is impacted by that particular activity or that clause is also catered for.
Definitely.
Meaning there's also a need for greater collaboration
Yes.
within the parties that are involved. And obviously one is unable to fully prescribe anything in the event of any eventuality. So it means there's times that they will need to make a call, on how to resolve some of the issues. And then I don't know if you've got Any
Yes.
further follow-ups?
Yeah, just to add on to what Ntate Paul is saying, that the guarantor or the guarantee issue, there are different types of guarantors as well, right? Because some of the clients, they ask for bank guarantees, but there are also credit providers that also act as guarantors.
Okay.
They are not necessarily banks, but they are financial institutions as well, but they are registered differently to the banks. So we've also found a challenge that some of these providers of guarantees, sometimes you find that they are not necessarily fully registered as they should
Okay.
to guarantee a specific project. So you could find out that a specific guarantee that you receive from a contractor for the works, you could find it to have problems down the line if you don't investigate the guarantor to make sure their registrations as a financial services provider is legit through the FSBs. Right, we've had a situation where we did receive a guarantee. It looks legit, it's signed. And when you want to then claim on the guarantee, you find out that it's actually not a regulated guarantee.
Sure.
So now the client is left unprotected. So there are also those issues. So I think it's a discussion we must also take into the CIC as well, in terms of client requesting a guarantee. Is it a bank guarantee, or if it's from credit providers, what needs to be done to make sure that guarantee is authentic? That's the word we're using, authentic. I, as a principal agent, will then need to do some further investigations on receipt of that guarantee through some audits to check backwards. You don't just receive it and pass it on to the client. So those are some of the other lessons that we need to learn in terms of guarantees and the likes. But just as a last parting shot for myself, the contract. We've got the principal building agreement, then we've got the contract data. There is the CE data, there is the EC contract data. So again, there's a little bit of education needed there in terms of what those two mean. The one is signed by the principal agent, the other one is signed by the contractor in terms of the contract data. But when you are explaining some of these issues to emerging contractors, they are very clueless as to what these contracts are. So just to pun on the issue of training and awareness, I think, Tammy, you've got a lot of work to do in fixing that problem, to educate the emerging contractors within the environment, which will assist them to manage their projects much better as well. Yeah.
Just before you comment, I want to just do a follow-up on what Anthony says, when you talk about this different type of guarantees. Dade Paul, earlier on you mentioned to say there is a need to collaborate with banks, as one of the issues that emanated from the previous session. Can you just elaborate on that, especially now in the light of what Anthony is just now raising?
Yeah, no, that's because there has been instances where some clients will take the JBCC and start to sort of make certain changes,
Yes.
but in the process of doing that, they create a problem up front.
Okay.
You see, now the banks will assist us, for instance, with such issues, as with the guarantees, where because they've got a structure of this credit checking and so forth.
Yes.
We don't know. For instance, if a contractor give you this guarantee, there's not even some kind of a reference check against that particular guarantee to say, you know, have they paid before, or you know, how many claims have they received?
Yes,
Out of those, how many did they honor, and so forth. But from the experience that we have so far is that you know, they you know, most of them don't even act as guarantors. You know, they, you know, I don't know how to put it, but every time a claim comes, the first thing they do is to find something
Yes.
not to pay, and I think that's where, you know, this banking guys will, you know, will assist us.
So there's unintended consequences in the issue, and others, you know, might take advantage
Yeah,
of those gaps that exist, meaning there needs to be, you know, intentional training and awareness, you know, as Anthony is saying,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that the JBCC needs to look into.
If I can, we launched in April this year our subcontractor training.
Okay.
So, yeah, we have listened,
Okay.
and it was really an eye opener. I attended the launch of it. We opened it up to the public. The first, I think, 20 delegates, free of charge, attend a 2-day course held by one of our facilitators, and guarantees was one of the issues that arose. I think a lot of the time it's being done as a tick box exercise and not fully understanding that risk again. So when we facilitate this training, it's focused on understanding what your rights are as a contractor, subcontractor, and what are the necessities, things that you need to have. Because like you said, they're not always registered financial institutions. They are lending institutions of sorts. But it's also because the smaller contractors and subcontractors struggle to get those guarantees sometimes.
Exactly.
So that is Paul's suggestion of us collaborating with banks to alert them to this problem and maybe work with them to try to get authentic guarantees to our SMMEs, may provide them with a certain layer of protection. But we are definitely working on educating, upskilling, and ensuring that they're aware of the risk.
No, that's great. Because
So these are available on the EJBCC for those that would have missed the sessions. Okay, kindly share so that, you know, we can also widely share with our membership database. I think the last question from my side, Temi, to you is regarding the conference seminar you held. You know, quite interesting, because this actually is also a podcast that is a follow-up, you know, upon the implementation of some of those resolutions, including the 38th CIC that we will be hosting. Can you just quickly take us through the key resolutions, you know, of the conference, and how does JBCC plan to implement this resolution, and what role will industry stakeholders play? What is the role that you are seeing us playing, you know, in ensuring that these resolutions are then implemented? We might have just picked up one, but there's several, you know, as Ndate Paul has indicated earlier. So how would this be implemented? What is the plan? What help do you need, and from who?
All the help from everybody. So we called it a users breakfast conference, and I think I did touch on it at the conference, that it was very intentional because we wanted to hear from the users. We're not dictators. We have our drafting committee, our review committee, because they're industry stakeholders. We have our constituents who are industry stakeholders, and some of the resolutions from the conference, I think the biggest one for me was the need for collaboration. If we work together,
Yes.
you know, we're going to drive this industry. But if we keep working in silos and we do the contracts and then you do the implementation and then you do the management, it doesn't work efficiently, or as efficiently as it could. That segregated approach that we historically have to construction and its processes, it's not working anymore. So I think a more implemented system, a more integrated system, where we rely on each other's strengths and we build the industry. So when people some of the questions that came about was, you know, you're not addressing the needs of public sector. So tell us what the needs are, and let's work together for a solution. Don't count JBCC out and say you only address the private sector. let's work together. So I think that's the biggest thing for us is we listened and we want to collaborate with as many stakeholders, if not all the stakeholders. Tati Paul brought up something very, very good at the conference as well. Someone was talking about, yeah, but JBCC, we brought this to you, and he says, hang on, but you belong to also one of our constituents. So we're not working against each other. We need to work together. We have the same goal. And I think that was the biggest takeaway for me is let's work together. Let's keep this, let's drive it together. Because if we continue on the same path, it's not going to be beneficial to any of us.
Well, our hand is up. We've started,
Your hand has been up.
as one of the constituent bodies. I think with that said, I don't know, Tate Paul, if you have any last remarks, then I will ask you, Anthony, to just then do the vote of thanks for us.
No, thanks. When you look at Anthony is correct that JBCC has been used even beyond the borders of South Africa. Our members, who are members of the constituents, for instance, because don't forget, when any client have what they call a procurement strategy, one of the things that the client needs to make a call on will be to say which contract to use and why. And almost 100% of the time, that advice will come to a professional, whether it's from ACPM, project manager, whatever. So you can see the power of the constituent members automatically promoting JBCC.
Yes.
If I've got a client, in all my jobs that I do outside the country, the client asks me, between this contract, that contract, then I'll advise the client to say, this one, this one. But, for this one, because of this and that, go for this one. So we have that power where we actually influence the procurement strategy as to which contract to use. And your members as project managers, they are the first point of call, by the clients. And I think I like that that part to say, as Antonio was saying, we need to also look into, the project manager vis-a-vis the principal agent, and because it's a very important.
We also need collaboration from the SACPC as well.
So on the collaboration, the industry, the profession has been saying let's work together, this and that. At the conference, I then said, hang on, but look at this room. All of us are here.
Yes.
And the question came from MBSA. Say, no, we must, for everybody to look at us seriously. I said, but we are all here. We've got the contractors, we've got the project, we've got everybody.
Everybody under one
So
roof.
perhaps then we just need to look to see how we then build
on the resolutions.
on an ongoing basis. Thank you.
I love how Ndate Paul is saying this contract or that one. He does not mention, He just goes this one and that one.
You must just do the calculations.
I'm busy calculating the contracts, and I'm thinking, usually as they advertise, they will say this product is better than that one without saying. So he says, I advise the client to use this one and not that one, and say this one. We won't ask you. As I give over to the host to close, I just want to indicate people might be wondering, what the JBCC does. So after Anthony has done the vote of thanks, we will just go into advert, all about the JBCC for those that still want the full understanding of the JBCC.
I must congratulate the JBCC on the online selling platform. I think we actually procured a document just yesterday.
Okay.
And it went quickly, I think, few minutes. Few minutes we were able to download, pay, and fill in the documents online. It's also made it easier than to take a pen and do the physical document. So I think some of us prefer the online approach. So well done there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. In saying that, I'd like to take the opportunity from the ACPM side to thank both of you for coming through, Tammy and Paul. I know you're very busy trying to solve problems, but I think this platform for us to converse is also more for the public and the industry to get some answers because solutions are what we talk about. So we are always in the mind and the position to say, let's put ourselves as the ACPM forward to always try and provide solutions with our partners and stakeholders, which you are one of. I think we form part of the JBCC as well. So stemming out of your conference, I think we've moved very quickly to come to this position.
Yeah.
And we will quickly go to the 39 CIC as well. So we move fast. We listen and we act. We don't want to deliberate too much in the talks. So thank you so much for taking your time, and we want to wish the JBCC well. We are here, we are with you, and we want to assist in promoting the JBCC going forward. So thank you so much.
No, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Coming through.
Hi everyone, I'm Kgole from the JBCC, and today I will be introducing to you the new eJBCC platform, which is an easy way for you to access our JBCC agreements. Let's dive into exploring this new revolutionary marketplace for you to access our JBCC agreements. This platform was designed with two key milestones in mind. Milestone 1 was about creating a step forward in digitalizing a marketplace for you to easily access JBCC agreements in soft copy. This is going to be a simple, convenient way for our users to be active on our platform. But that's just the start. Milestone 2, which is currently under construction, will take things to the next level. It is going to be an information hub, an academy for our users to be able to use for anything and everything they need to know about the JBCC. This will offer you webinars that will be pre-recorded for you to access on questions that you need to know about the JBCC. This will offer you a frequently asked chat box where you can correspond on the platform about clause interpretation that you might need help with. It'll be an easy access for you to register and pay for your webinars when and as you need to. It will store your webinars for you and all your webinar packs, your attendance certificates, when you need to access it after attending the webinars. So let's dive into it and show you how to register and get access to this platform. Let's start by me introducing you how to get onto our JBCC website and getting access to the eJBCC platform. All you need to do is go to our JBCC website, which is www.jbcc.co.za. Once you've entered the website, you would have to click on JBCC Agreements and then Electronic. Once you get to the electronic page, you will get to the login or register a new account. So for this exercise, we'll register a new account. You would have to just enter all your details, create a password, agree to the T's and C's, and then you're ready to go. Once you've created the account, it will request an OTP from you. So all you'd need to do is enter your OTP that you will receive via the email that you registered with. Now, once you've done that, you're officially on the platform. On the left, you'll see three icons, which is Dashboard, Marketplace, and Management. Dashboard gives you access to see the most popular documents or trending documents and the newly released documents that the JBCC has. Further down, if you scroll, you'll see the registered webinars and upcoming webinars of the JBCC. Like I said, this function is not available as yet. It's within our second milestone, which will be ready within the new year. The second icon you'll see on the left. Once you're successfully registered on the platform, you will see 3 icons on the left. It'll be Dashboard, Marketplace, Management. Dashboard showcases the trending documents, mostly bought documents. Secondly, you'll see newly released documents by the JBCC. And if you scroll further down, it will give you registered webinars that you've registered for. And then upcoming webinars is the calendar for the webinar scheduled for the year. Underneath that, on the left, you'll see Marketplace. If you click on Marketplace, this feature allows you to see all the JBCC agreements. What you'd need to do here is filter the year in which you're looking for the agreement for, when the agreement was released. So for example, I'm looking for the 2018 PBA. So I'd filter 2018, scroll further down and look for the agreement on the list. And once I have it, you can select and click on it. Then the last icon, which is Management. Management is a storage cloud for all the clients. The storage cloud will store all the documents that you've purchased, worked on, in addition, all the invoices for your purchases on this platform. Let's purchase a document as an example. For this exercise, I'll be purchasing the Minor Works Agreement Edition 5.2 June 2024. So I'll select the agreement, then I'll purchase the document. Then it's going to require further information from you. This information will be used to be populated on your front cover, as well as the document will be watermarked with the information inside. So we'll give the project a name. We'll call it Pink Mall in Pretoria. Project reference. Usually this field is for projects that are tender-based, that are issued on a tender. So it will require a reference number from a tender document that you received. So for those in the private sector, you can just give it a date. A date should you not have a project reference. Then it will ask for the employer's name. We'll say City of Tshwane. Contractor, we'll say Kgole. Contractors. Contract date, the date in which you'll be starting on site. So we'll just use today's date. Then file code. This file code is the numbering that you would like to file all the documents that you would be saving on the cloud for ease of reference. So for this purpose, I'll call my file code 01 as this is the first document I'm purchasing. Then you save to continue. Then a pop-up message will come. Please be accurate in the information that you provide within this platform. So I'm happy with my information, then I'll confirm. The nice thing about the platform, it gives you an option to do 2 payments. It's either you can do a credit card payment or an EFT. So should you select a credit card payment, it will redirect you to a new page, which is safe and secure for you to enter your information and proceed with payment. Should you opt not to use a credit card, you can proceed with an EFT payment. An invoice will be sent to to us for this transaction. Further, you can use the information provided to make a transfer into our bank account. And that is all you need to know about the eJBCC platform for now. For ease of reference, you can do it anywhere, on site, at home, in your office. It's very quick for you to access our JBCC agreements. It is safe and secure, and your data will never go missing. I hope you enjoy exploring our new JBCC platform. Thank you.